The Catalina 42 Mark II is one of the most legendary cruising sailboats that money can buy, and they turn up from time to time for less than 150 grand. But what about the Mark I, the boat that came before the much loved Mark II? Well, I found one for sale today, and we're gonna go take a look at it. This is a 1990 Catalina 42 Mark I in Florida right now, which is likely right where you'd want it if you were headed south soon. And they're asking 75 grand, which is a lot of money for a 34-year-old boat. So let's see what's up. And before we get started, I like this boat. I just see some things wrong with it. They list it with a Yanmar 44 horse with 2,500 hours. That's an oddly round number and a very low number considering the age and location of this boat. On an inland lake somewhere, 2,500 seems reasonable, but this close to the Bahamas? Next up is their description, claiming these boats sail well, which they do, and all of the hardware is super beefy, which it is, but it's an interesting point to make. And they say new batteries, Redodo, 100 amp hour times 2. Redodo? I'm not sure what that is, but I'm assuming they're lead based, and that's 50%, so a total of 100 amp hours for the house, which we could feasibly use to run the fridge off of, but not much else. My boat, as just an example, uses about 180 amp hours when you're living on it in a 24-hour period. That's just for reference. So 100 amp hours of usable brand new batteries from a weird brand is not really a selling factor. A 12-inch hybrid chart plotter. This is just me, but the hybrid plotter from Ray Marine, oh, it drives me crazy. I'll explain more later. It's got an AIS, an autopilot, and all kinds of goodies. A 1400 watt pure sine wave inverter, which is very small. It's not enough to run a power tool. Most consider 2000 watts to be the standard or even a little bit small, so this thing would need to be upgraded. A water maker, Ventura 200T, which I checked, and they still do make membranes and spare parts for this thing, so could be useful, though in the ad they say it's not in use. I wonder why. Is something wrong? They have a new anchor, a Mantis 65 pound, which is awesome. That's basically exactly what I would buy for this thing if I needed an anchor to go to the Caribbean. 200 feet of G4 5/16 is adequate rode, and they list the keel as a 4'11", which is the one you want. This boat had the option of a bigger keel too. It's got a new life raft listed, which they don't say anything about or have any pictures of. Let's see if we can find anything else in the pictures. This is a nice boat. It looks like they have a bridle rigged up in this picture, and she's at anchor. So we know they take anchoring seriously, and especially so because of that 65-pound Mantis that they equipped this boat with. Not sure what's up with the mainsail cover. It looks a little too low and too round to have a full mainsail under it right now, but maybe the picture is deceiving. She's sitting high in the water in these pictures, so I'm guessing all the tanks are empty, so she may just be laid up here for storage. I would ask how long she's been sitting here. Here's an older picture of the boat being well used, and the boat shopper and guy who fixes my own stuff in me is sort of looking at this picture and counting the holes in the deck. I see 2 screws for each of the furling line pad eyes. I see stanchion base screws, hatches, grab rails, a lot of holes in the deck. It's not the boat owner's fault, but if any one of these holes has leaked in the last 34 years or somebody forgot to rebed them, she's going to have some soft spots in the core. That's my biggest fear with older boats. They've made covers for all the winches here, and you'll notice they're extra tall. On the original boat, they don't sit this high. Here's a picture of the factory boat, and note, it doesn't have bases under the winches. On our boat today, someone's added these. The non-skid and the paintwork looks to be in really good shape here, though the boat is at a dock in this picture, so perhaps this might be an older picture. Back in the cockpit, we have a very well varnished table, which looks to be the original one, and we see the original gauge pod at the helm. Here are those coach top winches sitting on the risers. This massive electric Lumar is an expensive addition to this boat, but the second winch to the right looks original, and it's on a huge riser for some reason. I wonder if this was to get the right angle on the line that it pulls on or for some other reason. I would ask the seller about this. It may not be a problem, but it does put a lot of leverage on the winch mounting bolts and then the core and all the fiberglass work, so I'd want to know why they did this. Inside, we have the huge head that these boats have if you get the Pullman version, which is what this boat is. The whole forepeak of the boat is a head with a shower, and people tend to love this arrangement. What it gives you is a very private cabin up front with your own massive head in this Pullman style bed on the port side. People do love this Pullman, but I'm not personally a fan. The bed's too narrow and it makes you have to climb over the person you're sleeping next to. I think it's just me though, because these sell very well. Everybody wants the Pullman version. This is the right layout for this boat if you want to have resale value on it. Back in the saloon, we have what looks like the original upholstery in pretty good shape and lots of stuff stowed on the shelves. The sole looks amazing for the age of this boat, though I think I see 4 screw holes in it, and I'd want to ask about that. It's a weird spot to run screws through the floor. You'll see here that this is a split aft cabin, so the 2 small beds in the back, which is fine. The owner sleeps up front, so you use one back room for the garage and the other one for storage or for other guests. A very common arrangement on these boats. This is where things get a little dicey. This is the fridge door, and it definitely did not come with that slide bolt latch screwed to it. Something's amiss here. Opened up, we see the weather strip seal, which is not original and looks like some foam from the hardware store. I'm a little worried about this fridge. Why are they adding extra door latches? Why are they adding extra foam? I suspect because it's not staying cold. Looking inside, we get a shot of the evap plate, and I suspect this is the original evap. I would budget to replace this whole refrigeration system right away. These typically lasted for about 20 years, but this one looks well past due, and statistically, it will be. Outside now, we get a shot of the pedestal and the compass, and of course, the Raymarine gauge pods up top. I like these newer black gauges better than the older gray ones. They look more modern, and we know that these things last forever anyway. A shot of the engine control panel, which does not look original. I think this is an aftermarket gauge set from Amazon, but I suppose if they work, it's probably fine. I would ask to take the cover off this whole gauge pod, the back cover, to see if the wiring was done with heat shrink or not, because a bad ground in here will send you to crazy land trying to track down why something doesn't work. They've added the Fusion stereo to this boat, which is a nice to have. And a picture of an engine mount suggests that that engine mount's probably been replaced. This Yanmar, quoted at 2,500 hours, I would opt to have my surveyor do an oil sample analysis on this engine just to get a read on what the internal condition is. Not that I see any red flags, but this is an old boat with very low hours, so I am a little suspicious. We also get a shot of a fresh bottom job, but no real way to date the picture. A max prop folding, which is a very nice addition and a very expensive upgrade for this boat, and a shot of the rudder being painted the wrong color. I would ask about this. Why is this the wrong color? Was it replaced? Was it rebuilt? Was there some damage? We get a shot of the day head and another of the forward head, and one of this decorations that says Volvo on it. Because this is the twin rear cabin layout in this boat, we have the galley style galley down the starboard wall, which is very nice at anchor or at dock, so you can cook or make drinks while still being part of the activity in the saloon, but not a great galley to have at sea. There's nothing to lean back against while heeling or bashing in rough seas, and most folks with this galley opt to prepare meals well before leaving a safe harbor. All the switchgear here looks original, which is fine. It should outlast the boat, but I don't see anything specific to that electric winch that they've added. I'd assume it's one of these breakers, which is something to know about electric winches. They tend to blow breakers from time to time as they pull on the line too hard. And once a breaker has blown once or twice, it'll blow much easier and more often. Many electric winch owners keep an extra breaker on hand for just this reason. This is the Raymarine Hybrid Touch Chart Plotter, and I've used these many times, and I really don't like them. I think the processor was too small when they built these, and they always seem very slow and sluggish, especially if you're used to an iPad or another modern tablet. These drive me crazy. There are many more pictures of this boat, and it's a very nice example of an older cruising boat that's perfect for the Bahamas sailing, and it's very capable of going much further. And for 75 grand, it is a lot of boat, even if you have to budget for new batteries and refrigeration and a new inverter. The only deal breaker for me here is going to be soft spots in the deck. At 34 years old, it is bound to have something wrong in the topside somewhere, and my first priority when visiting this boat for the first time would be to slowly walk the deck looking for telltale soft spots or the clicking of delaminated glasswork. Any spot less than a foot across and I'd probably agree to fix it myself. anything bigger, and I might just pass on this boat altogether. What do you guys think? Is this thing worth the 75 grand that they're asking? Would you do it? Until next time, friends, keep the heavy side down, but not too far down. We'll see you.